The Piscataway Township Planning Board meeting will please come to order. Adequate notice of this meeting was provided in the following ways. Notice published in the Courier News, notice posted on the bulletin board of the municipal building, notice made available to the township clerk, notice sent to the Courier News and the Star Ledger. Ms. Buckley, would you please call the roll?
Yes, Mayor Waller is here. Councilwoman Cahill,
Here.
Ms. Corcoran,
Here.
Ms. Saunders,
Here.
Reverend Kenny,
Here.
Mr. Atkins,
Here.
Mr. Foster,
Here.
Mr. Ahmed, Madam Chair.
Here.
Check it in, Madam Chair.
Okay, Mr.
I
Mayor.
wasn't lying.
Mr. Barlow, would you read the open public meeting notice, please?
Certainly, Madam Chair. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided as required under Chapter 231 Public Law 1975. This meeting is being done through an online meeting platform. In keeping with the guidelines that have been disseminated by the Department of Community Affairs, the Planning Board has tried its best to comply with the Open Public Meeting Act. There will be public comment periods for all attendees. Each member of the public shall have only one opportunity to speak during each public portion. As technology does not allow us to know if there are multiple callers on an individual phone line or logged in user account, we ask that if you wish to speak, you log in or dial in separately so that we can recognize you as a separate individual. If you wish to speak, please raise your hand on the Zoom app, or if you have called in on the phone, press 9 to unmute. When it's your turn to speak, you'll be called upon either by name or phone number. Please speak at this time. You will be asked your name and address, and you'll be sworn in prior to your question or comment. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes, you're welcome. The American flag can be seen over my right shoulder. Can we all recite the Pledge of Allegiance together? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can we have the swearing in of the professionals, please?
Can you please raise your right hand? Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
Madam Chair, I think Ron was having issues with his audio. He left, but I'm sure he's trying to rejoin.
Okay.
He's in the group chat indicating he had an audio issue.
I just saw that.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, Ron.
He'll let us know when he gets in. Okay.
There he is.
All
Let's
righty.
see if his audio.
Ron, can you hear us?
Oh, I can hear you now. I
We can-
rebooted. Sorry about that.
We can hear
There we
you
go.
also.
That's
Okay, we
okay.
can hear you. Okay.
All
Thank
right,
you.
Ms. Saunders is going to try and swear you in again.
Okay. Can you please raise your right hand, Ron? Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do we have any changes to our agenda tonight?
Madam Chair, the only change, and I know Ms. Buckley had disseminated the agenda earlier today,
Mhm.
just in case if everybody didn't get it. In terms of the hearings this evening, T-Mobile is scheduled to go first, then the Greek Orthodox Community of New Brunswick next, and then third in terms of the hearing, the Clausen Urban Renewal. But other than that, all the matters that had previously been on the agenda are still on, Madam Chair.
Okay, that's fine. All right, then we'll proceed with item number 8. Oh, no, with item number 7. Can I have a motion to pay the duly audited bills?
Madam Chairman, this is
Chair.
Carol Saunders. I make a motion to pay the bills.
We'll have a second.
Reverend Kenny, I'll second it.
Thank you. Roll call.
Mayor Waller,
Go ahead.
Councilwoman Cahill,
Yes.
Ms. Corcoran,
Yes.
Ms. Saunders,
Yes.
Reverend Kenny,
Yes.
Mr. Atkins,
Yes.
Mr. Foster,
Yes.
and Madam Chair.
Yes. Number 8, adoption of resolution to memorialize action taken on September 11th, 2024.
Madam Chairman, Carol Saunders, adoption of resolution to memorialize the action taken at the September 11th, 2024 meeting.
Roll, Are there two or was there
We
three?
need a second.
It's
I'll
just
second that,
one.
Councilwoman Cahill.
It's
Okay.
just so I can be clear, it's the resolution to grant a 3-month extension as the
Oh, okay.
application
Oh, that's a 3-month thing. I thought there were three.
21
months.
PB 4041 that the board approved at the last meeting, and we're memorializing the resolution for the extension.
Okay, that's included in the motion and that's included in the second.
Correct.
Okay,
Ms.
roll call.
Mayor
roll call.
Waller,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cahill,
Yes,
Ms. Corcoran,
Yes.
Ms. Saunders,
Yes.
Reverend Kenny,
Yes.
Mr. Atkins,
Yes.
Mr. Foster,
Yes.
and Madam Chair.
Yes. Item number 9, adoption of the minutes from regular meeting, September the 11th, 2024.
Okay. Madam Chair, Carol Saunders, I'd like to adopt the minutes from the regular meeting of September 11th, 2024.
Do I have a second?
Reverend Kenny, I'll second it.
Thank you. Roll call.
Mayor Waller,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cahill,
yes,
Ms. Corcoran,
Yes.
Ms. Saunders,
Yes.
Reverend Kenny,
Yes.
Mr. Atkins,
Yes.
Mr. Foster,
Yes.
and Madam Chair.
Yes. Item number 10, 24 PB03 T-Mobile Northeast LLC, preliminary and final site plan. Mr. Edward Purcell. Mr. Purcell, would you turn your mic on?
Thank you very much, Madam
Mhm.
Chairwoman. My name is Ed Purcell with Price Meets Shulman and D'Arminio. Behalf here tonight on behalf of I'm here tonight on behalf of T-Mobile Northeast LLC with respect to bit property at 1551 South Washington Avenue. It's block 5301, lot 14.04. Essentially, what we're asking tonight is for minor site plan approval, but before I get into that, Mr. Barlow, are we all set up with our notice?
You are, you can proceed, Mr. Purcell. It's been adequate. Thank you.
Can I interrupt? Miss
Miss,
Francisco Lindor just hit a grand slam home run. The Mets are ahead.
oh, yay! Okay, we can proceed.
That's good news. I thought it was something I did.
No.
Yankee fans don't care.
I was
No.
kind of,
It's still 0-0 for
I
the Yankee
care. That's okay, I care.
game.
So, as I mentioned a moment ago, this is an application for minor site plan approval. The subject use to place antennas onto an approved but yet to be built warehouse is permitted in the subject redevelopment plan. And basically, the history of this site is that right now there's an office on the property which is going to be demolished shortly and replaced with a warehouse. And on that office, T-Mobile was approved to place antennas. And when the office is getting demolished, obviously that's no longer an option. So we did have an approval. We do have an approval for a temporary tower on the site, but ultimately our permanent location is going to be back onto the warehouse where the office is currently located. And that's where we will be placing these antennas on a permanent basis. So I'll try to keep it very brief tonight. I have engineering testimony, some RF testimony just for EME compliance, health and safety compliance, and just very little bit of planning testimony. So with that, I'll just call Mr. Josh Cottrell. He's our engineer. Josh, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Josh, can you need to be sworn in?
Josh, can you please raise your right hand? Do you swear that the testimony about to give you the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Can you please state and spell your name for the record?
Sure, it's Joshua Cottrell, Cottrell.
Thank you.
Josh, can you just go over your qualifications and experience?
Sure, I have a bachelor's in science and civil engineering from
That English changed.
University. I've been practicing for over 20 years now. I do hold a valid license in the state of, a valid engineering license in the state of New Jersey. I've testified
I'm on
numerous
as a panelist now. I was on that's the wrong
before numerous boards in the state of New Jersey.
Sir.
Okay. Madam Chairman, I'd ask that Mr. Cottrell be accepted as an expert in engineering.
He's acceptable.
Okay. Mr. Cottrell, you prepared the plans that were submitted to the board that are dated January 22nd, 2024, and last revised September 19th, 2024. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Could you review the aerial on the plans and kind of go over the surrounding areas or orient the board?
Sure. Am I sharing my screen here or?
Yeah.
You can
Okay.
share you can share your screen. Mhm.
Mr. Purcell, any exhibits that he puts up, and I know you had previously submitted them to Ms. Buckley, we'll just mark them as A1, A2, and go through
Sure.
that way.
These are the plans. This is an aerial that was included in the plans, but when we get to exhibits, that's how we'll mark them.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm just looking at the second sheet in the site plan set. It's existing conditions plan, SP1. This is just an aerial of depicting existing conditions. You can see the existing 7-story office building that's slated to be demolished. Um, to the west of the site is South Washington Avenue running up and down the plan. To the south is Interstate 287 running left to right. To the east is a storage facility. To the northeast, to the southeast is a residential area with a little frontage on New Brunswick Avenue. And to the north of the site is I believe it's a warehouse, but in the north west corner up here, you can see where the proposed temporary facility was approved, and I believe it has been installed, just not on air quite yet.
And how large is the property?
The property is 10.18 acres.
And what's the height of the antennas on the existing building?
Height of antennas on the existing building. I believe the antennas have been removed.
I guess what height they were at when they were there?
Existing antennas. Quite frankly, I don't remember.
I think the center, Ed, you can tell me if this is correct. Is the center line 56.9 feet for the antennas that were on the building?
That sounds correct, yes.
Okay, all right. And what's the access to the property?
Access is off of South Washington Avenue. I'll go back to the aerial. So access is off South Washington Avenue here. There's an access road that leads into the site.
Okay, and what's the purpose of the permanent location that's being proposed to be placed on the
just to maintain the coverage that it had when the antennas were on the 7-story office building.
Okay. Now, what exactly is T-Mobile proposing?
Sure, I'm just going to go to. I'm going to go to sheet. Let's go to sheet SP2, which is the proposed site plan. SP2 is the property with the new proposed warehouse building on it. So what T-Mobile is proposing to do is install antenna sectors at 3 of the corners, at the northeast corner, southeast corner, southwest corner, and then to install ground-based equipment on the northwest property right against the building. So that'll be the equipment will be at grade. Just moving to sheet A-02, which has enlarged antenna sector views. So you can see the 3 antenna sectors. Each sector is going to have 4 antennas installed on a steel sector frame. Each sector is going to be partially screened by radio frequency transparent paneling. The paneling is going to be designed to match the building facade. And we have photo sims to show in a little bit of that.
Just before we get there, what's the roof parapet height of the warehouse?
So the parapet height varies. The top of the roof deck I have from the architectural drawings at 45 feet 4 inches. The parapet, let's see. doesn't have the parapet height, but it's essentially, let's see. So this is 57. It's about 49 feet. It varies. The tallest parapet is, I believe, 6 feet. So it's around 50 feet.
Okay. Okay. And the antennas will be, the top of the antennas that are being proposed will be at 61 feet. Is that right?
Top antennas will be at 61 feet, correct? And the screening will go to the midpoint of the antennas, which is at 57 feet above grade.
Okay. So, Josh, let's pull up the photo sims. We'll mark these as exhibit A1, and
Sure.
they're going to be qualified by Mr. Kronk, our planner, when he provides his testimony. That's fine. A1 photo location. Yep.
There you go. Okay, so I'm just going to show the aerial. So photo 1 I'm going to show is at the southeast corner. Photo 2 is at the northeast corner. Photo 3 is at the southwest corner, and photo 4 is at the northwest corner, right in front of the equipment. So let's go to photo 1. As you can see, the photos aren't actual photos. They're the building's not constructed yet, so they're the actual architectural renderings that were used. And then you can see in the top left corner here, we added to these architectural renderings the antenna sectors. So you can kind of see the rectangular box is the screening, and the top half of the antennas protruding above those. So that's the southwest corner. Looking at the northeast corner, very similar installation. And then the last corner, again, very similar installation. And then you can see in the last photo rendering the equipment. There's a loading docks proposed for the warehouse. There's some access doors on this side. In between, you can see the T-Mobile equipment at the ground. So I can kind of describe that equipment. It's going to be a generator, 2 equipment cabinets installed on a 4x20 concrete pad within I believe it's well, let me go to the plan. Back to the plan. So it is a 10 by 25 foot fence enclosure with a 4x20 pad, 50 kW generator, 2 equipment cabinets, and then a unistrut rack with the electrical cabinets and the fiber cabinets. For
Okay.
utilities.
And the fencing, how high will the fence
It's
be?
going to be a 6-foot high chain link fence.
Okay. Then we'll talk about the coloring of the fence in a little bit once we go over the reports. Does the applicant propose landscaping?
So T-Mobile is not proposing landscaping. However, the developer of the property is proposing substantial landscaping in this area. We do have let me find the exhibit we have that shows that. I believe it's the A2. So this is plans for the overall development prepared by Bowler Engineering. This plan is last revised August 1st, 2024.
So we'll mark that as exhibit, just for the record. We'll mark that as exhibit A2.
Right, and it's the plan is called.
And just to be clear, we're on A6. Each one of the photographs it should be marked separately.
Oh, you marked, okay.
So
okay.
A1 was the aerial photograph, and then 2, 3, 4, and 5 are the pictures are numbered 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then this would be A6.
Okay. All right, we can do it that way. All right, so we'll mark this exhibit A6. Yep.
So the only modification we made to this plan is we colored the T-Mobile equipment area in red. So you can see the substantial, I believe these are spruce trees, the larger, and then shrubs in between. And that'll block the view from the approach from South Washington Ave.
Okay. All right. And then with respect to just pulling back a little bit, are there any utilities on the property that will impact the installation?
No, we will not be impacting any utilities.
Okay.
We
Can
will,
you just talk?
the only utilities we're going to need is electric and fiber line. So
Can you just go over, you know, the site being unmanned, how often it's visited, that type of stuff?
So yeah, so it's a unmanned facility, remotely monitored. A cell technician will visit the site once every 4 to 6 weeks just for routine maintenance, diagnostics, and he'll usually shows up in a SUV type vehicle. He'll use existing parking on the site. As I said, the only utilities we need are electric and fiber. Since it is unmanned, there's no garbage, recycling. There is a generator that we are proposing for extended power outages. That will be exercised once about every 2 weeks for about 30 minutes. And it'll be exercised during the weekday, business hours. So it won't be exercised at nighttime. We are proposing a work light on the equipment, but that is, again, just in case a cell technician does need to visit the site at night. The lighting will be provided with a timer switch. So basically he'll come on, it's usually a 2 or 4 hour timer. And when he leaves the site and forgets to shut the light off, the light won't stay on indefinitely. So.
Okay. And what about parking spaces?
We're not proposing any new. Existing will be used for the self technician. Or when I say existing, I mean proposed by others.
Right.
And
Right. Will there be any trees removed from the property?
no.
Okay. And then could you go over the process for placing the applicant's facilities on the existing building
Sure.
from the M tower?
So as we mentioned, there is a temp tower on site. That should be on air soon if it's not already. That'll allow the building now to be demolished. So the building will be demolished. Site improvements will go. Once the new warehouse building is constructed, T-Mobile will install their new antennas on the new structure. When those antennas are up and running and on air, the existing facility will then be removed.
Okay.
The existing temporary facility.
Right. Have you reviewed the joint engineering and planning report dated August 19th, 2024, last revised September 30th, 2024?
I have.
And I know we're gonna take apart, we're gonna set aside site impact number 2 with respect to the coding for the fencing, because we're gonna talk about that a little bit with the other planning report. But taking that one aside, are there any other comments that you need to make with respect to that report, or have we covered them?
No, I think we covered them. Yeah, no, I don't have any more
Okay.
comments.
Have you reviewed the CME planning report dated October 4th, 2024?
I have.
Okay. So let's just go over the comments and recommendations.
Sure.
So comment number 1 is just goes over proofs for variances, so we're not going to have to talk about that. Comments 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 deal with changes to the plans based on revising, what we view in the plans as being the front yard and side yards, and essentially, shifting that. And would the applicant agree to, does the applicant agree with those comments? Would the applicant agree to make those changes in the plans as set forth in those comments?
Yes, we agree.
And,
We will make the necessary revisions to the bulk table.
and if those changes were made, there would be no additional variances that are necessary, right? We're still
That's
compliant.
correct. Yeah.
Okay, all right. And then with respect to comment 7, and this ties back to the other planning report, their comment number 2, it says the applicant can confirm that the proposed 6-foot chain link fence is not a powder coated chain link fence or a chain link fence with slats, both of which are prohibited fence types. So should the application be approved, we recommend that the plans be modified to cite any deviation or other relief granted as a condition of approval, and or they clearly be noted on sheets A-02 that the proposed chain link fence complies with the plan. So we'll do the easy one first. Are we proposing a chain link with fence with slats?
The plans currently do not propose that, no.
Okay. And then I guess the question is, I guess it's more for the board's professionals. So the comment here says that we should clarify that the chain link fence is not powder coated because that will be prohibited. The other memo that we were provided, we just noticed today that comment number 2 actually requests us to be black powder coated, that the fence be black powder coated.
No, I think it just has a double negative in Mr. Reinerstein's report.
Well, Mr. Purcell, if I may, that our report, Ron was absolutely correct. The redevelopment plan does prohibit the powder coated chain link fences. Our report just should have said the fence, it shouldn't say should be black powder coated finish. It should have just been black. The color we were right.
Okay.
So please disregard the second sentence in item 2 of our report, aside from the color.
Okay, all right. So Mr. Cottrell, the fencing will be black. Is that correct? Or applicant will stipulate to making the fencing black?
It'll be a black finish. I guess it'll be black PVC coated.
Okay, but it won't be powder coated.
It won't be powder coated.
Thank you. Okay.
And then comment number 8 is we recommend the applicant discuss the environmental issues that may exist at the site that would impact the proposed location of the equipment compound.
Right. So we were provided with a document that indicates there was site remediation on the site from a possible, it was some kind of hydraulic lift, and that the site has been remediated. Our installation, T-Mobile's installation, is very minimal impact. We are pouring a concrete pad. There'll be no soil removed from the site for the installation, so there's no concern of removal of any contaminated soils if in fact it did exist.
Okay. All right. And then with respect to comments 9, 10, 11, 12, or 9, 10, 11, and 12, those are just standard comments that the applicant agrees to and would stipulate to if necessary. Or
right.
Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay. That's all I had, Mr. Cottrell. Anyone from the board or the board's professionals have any questions?
Madam Chair, Dawn Corcoran, if I may.
Yes, you may.
Mr. Purcell, with regard to number 3 of the staff report, do we have more of a concrete time frame? I mean, once the new building's up, are we looking for the new antennas to go up in a matter of weeks? Is it going to be months? Like, what is the time frame we're looking at here?
So I think the time frame, from my perspective, is governed by the prior approval that we received for the temporary tower. I think it's once there's a CO for the warehouse building, we have, I think, 30 days to relocate onto the warehouse. So I think that would be the timeline.
Okay, and T-Mobile is agreeable to that. That's fine.
It is.
Okay. And then with regard to item 6, if approved, can you certainly, could you submit the exhibit to our office, just because we don't have that landscape plan in this particular file? That would be helpful.
Sure.
Great, thank you.
And Ms. Carpenter, I have to correct myself. The approval for the temporary tower says that the approval for that approval expires 90 days after the issuance of the CO
Okay.
for the warehouse. So we have 90 days. I
That seems a little
apologize.
bit more realistic. Thank
Yeah,
you.
I thought 30 was a little bit tight after I said it, so.
Thank you.
Hey,
Correction
Dawn,
in the nick of time.
I'm just going to jump in a little bit. Hey, Josh, how you doing?
Good, how are you? Haven't seen you in a
All right.
while.
Josh knows me from a long way back from telecom. Basically, I can tell you from their perspective, once that building is finished, they're willing to go up and attach your antennas. They have to have the new building in place. So what I suspect is they want the cow. What do you have on site now? The cow? Cow
It's
on
a
wheels?
ballast frame tower.
Okay. So basically, when this building gets demolished and a new building gets built, they're happy to go up within like, once they get the CO. Basically, I suspect that would be the timing. But I think the main thing is, for planning perspective, this is a permitted use in a zone, correct?
It is, yes.
And basically, they've been there previously, correct, Council?
Correct.
And they comply with everything else in the redevelopment plan, correct?
That's correct.
And so, so basically what they're looking for now is it's basically amending the site plan approval previously for the warehouse to put these antennas up. And your testimony is you comply exactly with the redevelopment plan, correct?
Is that for me? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So don't want to put words in your mouth, but uh, I can't put my prior subject matter expertise on telecom previously, but to me, what T-Mobile has done, they're waiting patiently to go on this building. They have a cell on wheels that is transmitting and servicing their customers, and they're just waiting for this building to be built, and that's what they're here for tonight. So thank you.
Point. Okay. Is there anything else? Mr. Purcell?
I do, if we're done, well, do we want to open up the questioning for, I don't have anything else left for Mr.
You finished. You have nothing else, is that's what my question
Yeah,
is.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah, I don't have anything else, so.
okay,
Can you please unshare your screen?
thank you.
Thank you.
Members of the board, do you have any other questions, any questions for the engineer who has testified?
Madam Chair, it's Councilwoman Cahill.
Mhm.
Just to be clear, right now the antennas are on sort of these mobile units while they wait for the building to come down and the new building to go up. Is that essentially what's happening here? But today the approval is for when the building's built, for the antennas to go up there. Okay, so that the approval's in place. Does anyone here, the professional or you, Mr. Purcell, know any ETA on the timing of the completion of that building and how long that means the temporary units will be out there?
I do not. As Mr. Cottrell said, it's a ballast mount tower, so it's a tower that's weighted down that was approved. But I'm not aware. I don't know if Mr. Cottrell is aware. Perhaps Mr. Kronk is when we get to the planning testimony, although I suspect he's not even aware because that's really up to the developers of that warehouse, not us.
Well,
Then I guess I have a question for Ron or our attorney is the approvals today, I mean, the likelihood that there are any changes to ordinance or are we talking about slim to none? I mean, you just don't know with the timing of this building. Is today's approval going to stand the test of time, I guess is the question.
well, Councilwoman, that's a great question because this is what I'm at. I don't want this applicant to come back 2 years from now and ask for another extension. So basically, they're asking for an approval. and I will defer it to everybody else. But my understanding, this approval will go for 3 years. I mean, Mr. Barlow, am I incorrect about that?
Madam Chair, this is, you have to understand,
Madam Chair?
the underlying warehouse is a redevelopment plan, and this is a permitted use within the plan. So I believe that Mr. Purcell is just being affirmative in that, so when it's built, that the antennas can go up quickly. The zoning board has granted the temporary use for 90 days after the CO is granted to the warehouse. So that's built in. If the developer of the warehouse has to make any changes, they would come back before the board for changes to the redevelopment plan and amendments to the site plan. So I just think this way T-Mobile doesn't have to worry about it going forward. They are seeking to just put them right back up where they were, and that the applicant of the warehouse couldn't do that. Mr. Purcell had to do that because he needed to get the temporary use.
Yeah.
So
Okay, no, you answered the question. Thank you.
So perfect, yeah, and we're on the same page. We don't want them to have to come back.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? Okay, let's open Ms. Buckley, I'm going to open it up to the public for for questioning from the public. If anyone in the public has questions of this application and the expert who has testified so far, would you please your desire for a question by waving your hand? You've heard all the
No one,
testimony
Chairman.
from this
Chair,
applicant.
I
Yeah,
have
you have
members-
I'm sorry. You have another witness?
Oh, yeah. I have the RF expert just to verify we're complying with the FCC standards, and then Mr. Cronk.
Okay, you have two witnesses, fine.
So I can do it very quickly. So, I'd like to call Mr. Daniel Check as our
Yes.
RF expert.
He has to be sworn in.
Daniel, can you hear me?
Carol, you're
Yes, I
mute.
can hear everybody.
Okay,
Hold on.
Mr. Check, can you please raise your right hand? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
I have my right hand raised.
Okay. Do you swear that the testimony about to give you the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state and spell your name for the record, please.
It's Daniel Check, Czech.
Thank you.
Mr. Check, can you go over your qualifications and experience?
Yes. I have a bachelor's degree in engineering from NJIT with an emphasis on communication systems. I'm experienced in running propagation analysis for wireless carriers and have calculated several RF emissions for FCC compliance. I have over a dozen certifications in RF training. I've been accepted as an expert before this board and the board of Woodbridge and Piscataway.
Madam Chairwoman, I just asked that Mr. Check be accepted as an expert in RF engineering.
He's accepted.
Mr. Check, is T-Mobile licensed by the FCC?
Yes.
And the wireless use is permitted in the subject zone, is that right?
Yes.
And from an RF perspective, from a radio frequency perspective, T-Mobile is really seeking to fill a gap that exists, right? That existed when the original antennas were placed, and just to keep that gap filled. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay. Can you just go over any RF emissions analysis that you conducted?
Yes. So
If you want to maybe show the report, your September 5th report, and share your screen.
okay. Okay.
Okay. So we're going to mark this RF report prepared by Purecon Solutions, dated September 5th, 2024, as exhibit. What
A7.
we're at, Mr. Barlow, A7?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we'll mark this as A7. Mr. Check, can you just go over this report and the applicable FCC standards?
Yes. So when we do the MPE report and RF report, we do use two sets of standards. We use the FCC standard, which are a conservative nature of standards, and the New Jersey Radiation Protection Act standards. And the methodology we use in this analysis is based on worst case, and it's conservative and cumulative, and it assumes that all the antennas are on and there is no cable loss.
And what are the findings of your analysis set forth in the report?
So our analysis reported that the proposed T-Mobile facility would emit 5.667% of the FCC allowable limit, which is 17%, 17 times below the limit, and 1.133% of the New Jersey maximum permissible exposure limit for the general public, which is 88 times below the limit.
Okay, so in sum, your report confirms that the antennas will comply with all applicable emissions requirements.
Yes.
That's all I have for Mr. Check, Madam Chairwoman.
Members of the board, does anyone on the board have any questions of this witness?
It's Ron Reinertsen. How are you, Dan?
Hey, I'm doing well. You?
Just fine. Listen, I'm talking on layman's terms. If I open my refrigerator, the light in the fridge, does it emit the same power that these antennas do?
I wouldn't say
Give
so.
or take. These are low-powered antennas, correct?
They are low-powered antennas, and they're also
That's all
smart,
that's all
so
I was
that
looking for.
they only transmit when necessary.
Okay, that's all I'm looking for, and they comply with FCC, right?
Yes, that is correct.
And that's what you have to comply with.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Does any other members have any, the board members have any questions? Members of the public, you have an opportunity to ask questions of this witness. If you have any questions of this witness, would you please indicate by
Can you please
show of
unshare your
hands?
screen? Sorry, Madam Chair. Can you please unshare?
Yep. Sorry
Thank
about
you.
that.
Yeah, it's just much easier for me to see everybody.
Okay.
Anybody in the public have any questions?
Would you indicate by show of hands, Shay?
No one, Madam Chair.
Okay, closed to the public. You may call your next witness.
All right, my last witness is Tim Cronk. We are a planner. Mr. Cronk, can you hear us? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Let's swear you in.
Okay. Mr. Crunk, can you please raise your right hand?
I am.
Okay. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Can you please state and spell your name for the record?
Timothy M. Kronk, Kronk.
Thank you.
Mr. Cronk, can you go over your education and qualifications?
Certainly. I have a Bachelor of Science from the University of Massachusetts. I have 33 years of land use experience, predominantly in New Jersey. I am a New Jersey licensed professional planner and an AICP certified planner, and I have been accepted by the Piscataway Planning Board and Zoning Board on prior occasions.
Okay.
He's acceptable.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Mr. Cronk, you've reviewed the zoning ordinances, redevelopment plan for this site and the master plan,
Yes, I have.
and the proposed use is a permitted principal use. Is that right?
That is correct.
Are there any variances required?
No, there are none required. You're
Would you mind
completely
qualifying
compliant.
the SIMs? All right. Would you mind qualifying the SIMs that Mr. Cottrell entered into evidence as A2 through A6?
Certainly. Do you want me to pull them up again, or?
No, just explain
Okay.
how they were.
Yes, as Mr. Cottrell mentioned, since the building is not existing, we were unable to take existing conditions photographs. I did obtain the building elevations from the developer of the property, and that is we added some sky and landscaping and to make them look more like a photo than the building elevations that they had. We superimposed the antennas and the concealment structures as they were depicted on the engineering drawings. And use those as what the proposed installation would look like on top of the new building once the new building is built.
Okay, all right, thank you. And does this application meet all applicable site plan requirements?
Yes, it does, completely conforming.
And do you have any comments with respect to the two planning memos that Mr. Cottrell went over?
Nope, completely concur.
That's all I have for Mr. Cronk, Madam Chairwoman.
Members of the board, do you have any questions of this witness?
No planning questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Members of the public, I'm opening it to you for any questions that you may have. If you have any questions of this witness, please indicate by waving the hand on your screen.
No, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Close to the public.
Thank you.
Okay, you have no other testimony tonight, Mr. Purcell?
That's correct.
And you want to give any closing statement?
I'll just say that I think this is a very straightforward application. It's a permitted use. We're simply trying to fill, the gap that T-Mobile has been seeking to fill on this property for a number of years on the office that's being demolished, on the temp tower that exists now. And then once this warehouse is constructed, T-Mobile will be very anxious to be back on there in a permanent location. So I certainly would respectfully request that the board approve this application.
Thank you. Members of the board, what's your pleasure on this application?
Madam Chair, Dawn Corcoran, I'd like to make a motion to approve the application, subject to the staff report last revised September 30th, 2024, and subject to the CME report dated October 4th, 2024.
I'll second that, Madam Chair, Councilwoman Kay.
Thank you. Roll call.
Mayor Waller,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cahill,
Yes.
Ms. Corcoran,
Yes.
Ms. Saunders,
Yes.
Reverend Kenny,
Yes.
Mr. Atkins,
Yes.
Mr. Foster,
Yes.
and Madam Chair.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Barlow, do we have a resolution? Mr. Barlow, do we have a resolution tonight on this?
No, Madam Chair, we'll have that at the next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Have
you,
a nice
Mr.
evening.
Purcell.
Have a good night.
Okay, item number 11, 24 PB 16/17 V as in Victor, Greek Orthodox Community of New Brunswick, New Jersey.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Kevin Morse, Woodbridge, New Jersey, appearing on behalf of the applicant. This applicant you've just introduced is actually, you folks may know, is related to the St. George Greek Church, which is a little bit up the road from the site. The subject property before you this evening is block 11904, lot 31.01. It is located in the R15 zone, commonly known as 57 Riverview Avenue. And the applicant is before you this evening seeking preliminary major subdivision approval for this rather large property, which contains one existing single-family residence. Proposal would be to subdivide the property into 4 conforming lots with the existing single-family residence to remain and 3 new lots for residential development sometime in the future. Before we proceed, I had previously submitted the applicant's affidavits of publication and mailing, and I just want to confirm that they have been received, that they are in order so that the board has jurisdiction to proceed this
Mr.
evening.
Barlow?
Yes,
Mhm,
they are,
okay.
Mr. Morse. The board has jurisdiction. You can proceed.
All right, thank you. I have 2 witnesses available this evening. First is Mr. Haney Waba, who is here on behalf of the applicant. I don't intend on calling him unless it's necessary, but he will be here for the entire hearing. My
Mhm.
second witness, probably my only witness, will be Mr. Les Walker, who is our professional engineer. I would ask that Mr. Walker could be sworn at this time, please.
Mr. Walker, can you please raise your right hand? Sorry, I'm not seeing you.
I'm right here.
Oh, okay. Do you swear that the testimony about to give will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Just please state your name and spelling for the record, please.
Sure. My name is Leslie, Leslie Walker, Walker.
Thank you.
am I'm the president of Meridian Engineering Group in Edison, New Jersey. I've been before this board before, licensed in good standing in New Jersey and several other states. Bachelor's and master's degree from Rutgers University. in civil engineering, and I've been doing land development for 25 years and been probably in front of every board in Middlesex County and in Somerset, Hunterdon.
All right, so Madam Chairwoman, I would ask that you accept Mr. Walker as our expert with regard to professional engineering at this time.
He's acceptable.
All right, thank you. All right, Mr. Walker, you prepared the plans that are before the board this evening, is that correct?
That is correct.
Can you please describe for the board the site as it presently exists and the proposed major subdivision? I understand you have a color rendering you may wish to put up as A1.
Yeah, I'm gonna put up, first I want to put up the existing conditions map just for
Okay,
reference, and that is, that'll be sheet 2 of the submitted site plan set.
okay.
Can you see that? Can you see my screen?
No.
No,
Mm. Yeah, there we go.
okay,
Got it now, right?
yeah,
Okay, so this is the existing site. This is not a colorized version. This is basically the survey. You have Riverview on the west side. North is basically up on the page. Riverview Avenue on the page left, and then Golf Links Avenue on the right. The Rutgers Golf Course is on the other side of Golf Links Avenue. Completely surrounded on all sides by existing single-family residential. You have one existing home on the property and a small freestanding garage. Then I will go to the colored rendering, and you got that? Can you see the colored rendering now?
I do.
All
Okay.
right, so
So
this,
this would be Exhibit A1. I did forward it on to Dawn and Laura earlier today, so the township does have it. You can see around the outside of the property, it's all single family, and you can see in the top right corner the golf course. I will zoom in a little bit here so you can see it a little better. Okay, so the property is known as lot, besides 57 Riverview Avenue for the existing home, it is also lot 31.01 in block 11904. It is a 1.64 acre parcel. It has, as I said, it has frontage on both Riverview and Golf Links. And then the small, this is Penrose Lane off of Riverview at the top left of the screen. With the exception of the front yard of the existing home, the property generally slopes kind of to the backyards of all these properties, and there's a hollow in the middle, and it drains to an existing drainage easement and a large diameter pipe that's kind of between the properties and continues on to the south towards the river. There are a handful of existing trees on the site with shown with like smaller little green circles. That's where the existing trees are. There's only 2 trees that we're going to be proposing to take down, and they are that's only to get the sidewalk. They're right in the sidewalk pathway along Golf Links Avenue. Other than that, no other trees will be taken down. The existing home is proposed to stay along with the driveway and the masonry garage. And we're proposing to subdivide into 4 generally conforming lots. The lots themselves are compliant in every way. 2 minor variances are required for the existing dwelling. A 40-foot front yard is required. The existing porch is 11.3 feet from the front property line, and the building itself is 20 feet from the front property line. And those are both existing conditions, no changes proposed, and not being exacerbated by this application. One new variance is created by creation of this lot line here between lots A and lot B. The garage and accessory structure is required to have an 8-foot side yard. And by creation of this line, it creates a side yard variance needed for the accessory structure of 4.4 feet. It's an existing garage. It serves that home, and a garage is a required component of a single family. It does
Right,
not.
and-
The house does not have an attached garage, so we're proposing for that garage to stay. So that's the only two variances, one existing and one that's being created for the side yard of the garage. Everything else on this application is fully conforming. The lots are as big or larger than required by zone.
Right, and
Um,
with regard to the garage, because that's the only variance that's being created, the applicant is not in a position to adjust the lot line between proposed lots A and B to move it farther away from the existing garage, because that would render proposed lot B non-conforming, and we have conforming lots here. Is that correct?
That's right. The 100 feet width is required. We have 200 feet along Riverview Avenue, and each lot is fully conforming at 100 feet. So that line is critical to making sure that those lots are the correct size. So by correcting that variance, it would create a different variance.
Right. And speaking of the garage, because we've both been in front of this board on many prior occasions, typically if the board were to look favorably and grant the variance, in our experience, the board would require some condition that if the garage became substantially damaged where it had to be rebuilt, that at that point, it would have to be moved back and rebuilt compliant with the setbacks in the future. And so the board's aware the applicant would be prepared to accept such a condition because we know typically that's what you would require. Second, while we're talking about the garage, we know there's instances in the past. We've spoken with the applicant. This is a true garage. It's not used for any other purpose. And to allay any fears of its future use, should the board look favorably on granting the application for the variance for it to remain, the applicant would have no objection to a condition that it not be used as any type of dwelling or living space. It's not used that way now. It is a true garage, and we have no objection to that type of condition, should you look favorably on the application. Now,
So Kevin, just to reiterate there, as a condition of approval, the applicant would agree that the garage won't have a kitchen, bedrooms, or bathrooms of any kind. It'll be
correct.
used solely as a garage. Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
Knew it was coming, so just we'll get it out of the way. So
All right.
now, and Mr. Walker, if approved, this subdivision, because it's a major subdivision, would be perfected by the filing of a final plat or map in the county clerk's office. Is that correct?
That's correct. We would have to go through the final subdivision. Once we perfect the preliminary, we would have to go through the final, submit the final plat. It is already prepared, so it's ready to go. It's just a matter of following the steps, and yes, it'll be filed with the county clerk.
Right. Now, I'd like to direct your attention. We have two memorandums, and first memorandum is generated by the Division of Engineering, Planning, and Development from Piscataway. It was originally September 16th, revised to September 30th. Again, the reason for the revision, the board should be aware, is that we appeared before your site plan workshop and made some adjustments to the plan to eliminate prior questions or plan review comments, which is why we have a revised and very short memo. Item number 1 in that memo, you've already described the variances. We've eliminated any other variances except for those you've just described. Is that correct?
That's right.
Including amending the plan to provide for the installation of the utility conduits. That is really a new thing that's being required and applicants prepared to comply with in terms of Piscataway's requirements. Is that right?
That's correct.
All right. Now, we are before the board. We haven't submitted plans for proposed dwellings because this applicant does not, in the near future, intend on actually building houses. Is that correct?
Yeah, we show, just for the board information and to kind of give a visual of how these lots could be developed. We show homes with driveways, but the intent is that these three new lots B, C, and D, will be created and marketable single family buildable lots that would be then sold off. They may be one buyer that wants to build all three, or it could be three individual purchasers, and each one comes in with, they would have to come in with uh, building plans at that time, along with the plot and grading plan for building permits. Um, and I know that the board was, wanted another condition to be that these wouldn't be, kind of cookie cutter homes where they're all exactly the same, that each house would have its own character.
Right, so again, because we don't have architectural plans, because no construction is proposed, one of the reasons you generated A1 was just to show how spacious these lots are, and to show that there, in addition to them being conforming, structures, as you've located them on A1, would all be in conformity with the required setbacks, and just to show generally how it might lay out in the future when developed. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And just, Mr. Barlow, as we discussed at the TRC, the applicant would have no objection to a provision, should the board look favorably on this application, uh, some condition that the houses not be mirror image, I think is the word that you used. Okay. Right. Item number 3 is really a statement of fact. We appreciate you making us aware that there is that moratorium in place. I believe the applicant has already stubbed in utilities and provided for those in the event it would try to, or some intended development would occur prior to 2029. But we are aware of that situation and we appreciate it. And then finally, item 4, Mr. Walker, should the board look favorably on this application, we would, of course, submit to the Middlesex County Planning Board for their review and approval of the project as well. Is that correct?
That's correct, as required.
All right. And then let me next direct, there was a second memorandum issued by CME, Mr. Reinerston, originally dated September 23rd, revised through October 4th. Again, the reason for the revision is because we, after the TRC, but before this hearing, we're able to get an amended plan. And I believe, Mr. Walker, that all the plan review comments of the prior memo have now been addressed by your revised plans that were submitted prior to this hearing. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
All right, from an engineering perspective, do you see any negative impact on adjacent or neighboring properties in connection with this conforming subdivision application?
No, none at all. In fact, I didn't get there yet, but along Riverview Avenue, 3 years ago, the township reconstructed Riverview Avenue. The applicant at that time went to the state, obtained a DEP permit for this to bring sewer up to the site and actually into the site to provide for future sewer for the three new lots. And with the township improvements of Riverview Avenue, at that time they put in the curb, the sidewalk, and even the driveway apron for the proposed lot B. That's an existing driveway apron. So there is no need for any disturbance of the roadway. So there won't be any kind of a required delay for constructing that lot, because everything was already envisioned and put in place with those improvements. So no, there would be no road opening permit needed for Riverview Avenue. Down along Golf Links. Golf Links is it's a narrow road. There's only 4 other houses further past in a dead end. It kind of dead ends into the golf course. There's 4 other houses further up the page. You can see one of them there at the top of the page, number 67, and then there's 3 more homes. These 2 homes would make 6. So that the existing road is only 14 to 15 feet wide. It varies. It's kind of a very rural lane. We are proposing to improve that. The smallest designation for an improved street recognized by the New Jersey Residential Site Improvement Standards is for a rural lane. A rural lane has a 18-foot cartway, and that's what we're proposing. It'll be roughly 3 to 4 feet wider than what's there now, and it'll be formalized with new pavement across the entire road, widening out slightly on the golf course side to kind of hold what's there on that side of the road, and then a more substantial widening on the project side of the road with curb and gutter, a couple of storm inlets, the driveway aprons, the required um, conduit for the future fiber optic. All utilities will be stubbed out. The concrete aprons will be put in. So this, so much like Lot B in the front, where when they did Riverview Avenue, everything was in place for that lot to be constructed. These two lots will be, those improvements will be put in, and prior to any building permit application coming in on those lots. So all of the required frontage improvements will be put in. The driveways, the homes, none of that'll be put in yet, pending sale and how each owner would choose to develop those lots with a single family home.
All right, thank you. Now, does that conclude your engineering testimony on this matter?
I believe that, yeah, I believe that it does, yes.
Okay. All right, so Mr. Barlow, I don't have a planner available, but I was going to just proffer some legal comment, or a proffer, as it were, with regard to the plan aspects of this case. I don't know if you'd like me to do that now and then open for questioning, or board would like to question the engineer about the technical aspects, or just hold on that.
I think you should just make your proffer and just get all the your position in, and then the board can ask whatever questions it
Right,
might have.
thank you. Thank you. Again, I'm not a professional planner. I'm not going to testify as a professional planner, but as attorneys, we review these cases and analyze them from a legal perspective, understanding the municipal land use law. And I would just submit for the board's consideration my proffer that the bulk variance relief is, to me, from a legal standpoint, de minimis in nature. I think this board, with its expertise and its own professionals, could find and review this matter that either under the C1 hardship or the C2 flexible C, the bulk relief is warranted to be granted. I mean, we have a very oversized lot here. It can be subdivided into 4 conforming lots, 4 beautiful lots, as you can see. The house is constrained with an existing single-family residence, and we really can't change that. And it would be a hardship to take away an existing functioning garage for the de minimis request of the variance for that particular item. Under the C2 flexible C, again, it's an odd-shaped piece of property or a unique property, and I think you could find that the purposes of the municipal land use law exist here for the granting of the relief, coming to minor sections A, C, G, and M of the special reasons or the purposes of zoning. And I think you can also find, again, subject to your expertise, that the relief we've requested could be granted without substantial detriment to the public good. And again, on the C2, any benefit would outweigh, to me, a detriment, because there is no detriment, and that you could grant the variances because this application, in our mind, does not impair the intent and purpose of the zone plan or the zoning ordinance. Again, that's based upon the testimony of our engineer, and I offer that simply as legal comment for your consideration in reviewing this matter. So that would conclude our presentation, Mr. Barlow. If there are questions of the board on any aspect of the application, we would invite them now.
Members of the board, having heard the testimony of the 3 witnesses and Mr. Kevin Morse's commentary, do you have any questions?
Madam Chair.
Can you unshare your screen, Mr. Walker?
Yeah, please.
Madam Chair, not a question, just a comment. From my understanding, Mr. Morris, that the Greek church inherited this property from prior landowner, longtime landowner up the street, and that's how this application came about.
That is my understanding as well. It was a benevolent donation to the church, so to speak.
Yeah.
They continue to use the residence, and preparing for some time in the future, perhaps the better and continued use of the property is why the application is before you right now, Mr. Mayor.
And from what I understand from folks from the officials from the churches, that the existing house out there, one of the restrictions that the benefactor to the church insisted that the house would stay, the current house would stay.
That is my understanding as well, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah. I just wanted to get the members of the board some background on how the application came about.
And Mayor, Council, the relief being asked is for this existing house, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Excellent. And Kevin, how are you?
Doing well, Ron. How are you?
Just fine. So basically, this subdivision eliminates a through lot condition, correct?
Oh, it does, absolutely.
So basically, we're going to have 4 lots at kind of what we expect with
Yes.
with frontages on streets.
One street only in the front.
And the widening has been discussed with the with the township, correct?
That is correct. The
Approve
applicant
the
is,
existing addition.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
when I went out there, it was hard to park on golf.
So
Right?
if I could, I wanted to actually jump in and talk about that, because the circulation element of the master plan requires that Golf Links Avenue have a 50-foot right of way. So we would be looking for a 25-foot half width out here. And based on this plan, it's showing us a 20-foot right of way half width. Is that correct?
Well, the right of way, the current property line along Golf Links is irregular. It's got angles to it.
Mhm.
We don't know where the other side of Golf Links Avenue is. There's evidence on lot number 67, lot 35.02 above us, that there is an existing right-of-way easement, easement to the township that would allow for future roadway widening, and that's where we set our property line. I'm holding what I'm calling 20 feet from. It's an irregular roadway, but what I'm calling the center line, and we are holding 20 feet based on a rural lane condition. This isn't a road that would ever be, unless Rutgers gives up its golf course, there's never going to be more than, there actually is room possibly between 2 of the 4 homes above, that maybe you could get another home in there. That would be a total of 7. So the most homes you would ever have back here is 7 homes. And based on the Institute of Transportation Engineers guidelines, 7 homes generates a total of 70 daily trips. And that's far below what a rural lane, an 18-foot cartway would handle. They actually go up to 200 trips a day. So that's the way we show it. If the township felt strongly about it, there's plenty of depth on these lots that we could give the other 5 feet, but it didn't seem to make sense with the constraints around us, above us, below us, and with the very unlikely scenario that Rutgers ever gives up its golf course.
I just have to bring
I
it
may
up.
be corrected. They're not giving a card. They would only have to give up about 10 feet. The universe.
No, we're right now we're giving up about 12 feet, because again, it's an irregular frontage. So you're looking at another 5 feet is what you're talking about.
From my experience, and the mayor is very cognizant on lot width and dedications. And
Hey,
stuff.
we don't like doing 2 bites at the apple. We take the first bite.
That's it.
Yeah.
You take the one bite, Mayor. I agree. So
I agree. But
whatever you
honestly,
guys want.
what else
do it.
could I mean, you can't connect up that road, right? I'm just curious.
It's a dead end, Councilwoman.
Right.
Up there. So what you have to realize, I mean,
I'll give you, for instance, to cut anybody short. We're going to get the additional 5 feet. And the reason why is because we had a similar issue up on Hillside going back years ago when the Route 18 DOT was doing the expansion, and the residents didn't want it to the full 30 feet. And what ended up happening is Now we get the complaints from the residents when they have a landscaping company come in. Nobody can get around a landscaping company's trailers. So
Perfect.
we're going to the additional 5 feet because I don't want to hear about a couple years from now the landscape trailers.
Unless,
Which-
as you stated, it's not going to create undersized lots here. It's not going to, I mean.
Yeah, no, it won't impact the lots, and you know that they're far over what is required. What I would ask though is the proposed roadway widening sufficient. I think any more than that, it's going to be, you're going to come from very narrow lanes on either end to like it'll look like a super highway out there
Well,
compared to what's there.
if I may,
No
that,
comment. I defer to the township.
Madam Chair, if I may, the township's under to reconnect the sewer line on Golf Links to down to River Road to upgrade that. All that's going to be taking place probably simultaneously. I mean, we're several years away from that happening, but I could see a uniform width out there within about 3 to 5 years.
Okay. Is that going to impact our vote tonight?
No, it's not. But if they give us the additional 5 feet, that'll take a time when the township engineers go to design the roadway and the sanitary sewer upgrade out there for the neighborhood.
Right, Mr. Mayor, my question is, are the sidewalk and curb installation where we show them, are they acceptable? And it's just a matter of moving the property line?
I believe they're gonna have to be pushed back a little bit. That was something, if I make a suggestion, Madam Chair, that we could approve this application subject to them sitting down with our engineering staff to get a definitive thing out there.
And we will be.
That shouldn't hold up the approval.
Yeah, and we'll be coming back for final anyway. We can solve
Yeah.
it, I think, Mr. Mayor, between now and then. I'm envisioning an easement for municipal purposes, but I'm sure we can work that out.
Yep.
Okay, we still have to open it up to the public. We didn't do that yet for Mr. Walker's testimony. Oh, so I'm going to open it up to the public. Does anyone in the public have any question for Mr. Walker, who just testified on this application?
Yes, we have Chris Kaiser.
Okay, Mr. Kaiser.
Hi,
Would you
I'm
give us your?
Christine. Yes, I'm Christine Kaiser. I live at 69 Golf Links Avenue, and this is
Okay.
my husband, Matthias.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if I may, just stop for 1 second, Ms. Kaiser.
Mhm.
So only one of you can testify at a time.
Okay,
and
it'll be
Ms.
my husband.
Ms. Saunders is going to swear. Are you going to go first, Ms. Kaiser?
No, it'll be my husband.
I will go first.
Okay, if you could state your name, spell your last name, give us your address, and then Ms. Saunders can swear you in.
Okay, my name is Matthias Kaiser. Last name is spelled Kaiser. Address is 69 Golf Links Avenue.
Can you please raise your right hand? Sorry, can't see you.
You can't see them. You just have to swear them in.
Okay, the testimony you're about to give will be the truth and nothing but the truth.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
What would you like to either say, Mr. Kaiser, or do you have a question?
Yes, I actually have a few concerns that I have. One concern would be the easement that currently goes through those two proposed lots. Because I want to make sure that it's not going to impact us up the hill coming up. Because before the lots were donated to a Greek church, there was all vegetation, lots of trees, everything was there. There was a hole 8 feet deep. Now it's filled in. For 30 years, I had no problem with water in my basement. Guess what? Went through multiple hurricanes, nothing, dry. Last year, came water in my property into my basement. So how is this going to impact having two homes over there? Because right now it's causing me a problem.
Well, I can say that our property, just looking at 67, which is the home between
Yes, my neighbor,
your property and ours, our property at that limit is at 70. Their house is at 72, so it's going considerably uphill from our property and towards your property. And then downhill, it goes across our property from 70 at the top, the north end towards you, to 65 at the south side where the existing drainage easement is below us. So water from this site is going the complete opposite direction, so should not be causing any problem with your property.
Okay, but that has not been the case because right now that easement that goes to the property goes across underneath Stafford, goes past one house and then bears right into Riverview. I believe that's currently blocked off. I'm not sure. I mean, I haven't gone into it because right now it's high grass, but I don't want to trespass. But I want to make sure that's being addressed properly, that the water flow is going to go that way and not stagnate, have a lake in the back and consequently raise the water level uphill.
No, that won't be the case. The property, the way it's graded now and the way it'll be graded in the future, we show, kind of tentative grading for the property, it will all continue to flow in the opposite direction than towards your home.
Okay. Now, with regards to golf links, now I know golf links, the way it is right now, it's a country road. It's probably the way the buggy rode 100 years ago. A fair amount of golf links currently actually sits on the Rutgers golf course. So when this is being redone, how is golf links going to be redone? Because currently the only utilities we have order above electric, we have partial water and no sewer. My sewer connects into Riverview. So is the sewer going to be put into entire golf links?
Sewer for these lots was provided through construction and an extension that came up Riverview and then goes through an easement across to a manhole in
okay,
the back.
I saw that manhole. So those 4 homes are going to connect into that manhole then?
They'll be connecting to a sewer that goes out to Riverview. We're not extending up golf links.
Now you had mentioned traffic. Well, there's not more traffic than you just indicated. First of all, there's currently 4 homes on golf links right now, existing homes. So everyone has 2 cars. So you got people, at least 2 or 3 cars going back and forth. It's heavily used by Rutgers Golf Course. So you have maintenance equipment, you have tractors, you have Porta-John utility trucks going down it. I mean, there's a lot of activity. There's more activity on golf links than you might have on Riverview. So if you propose making the road wider, it better be wide enough because there's a lot of equipment going down this road. Because the maintenance yard currently sits at the end of golf links, more towards golf links and Stafford. Now, no, I understand they may move down the road, but that hasn't been proposed yet.
Yes, sir. As proposed, the road is probably around 4 feet wider than it is right now, than it is up in front of your home, and then it is up to the south, going down towards Stafford. So this would be the widest part of the road, and then it narrows back down to the existing width in front of your homes further north, and then to the south. But this section will be widened.
Okay, so that's not just a bend, and it's going to be widened because my property mark is actually virtually on the road, on the current road.
That's
maybe
right.
About 6 inches off the current road.
Yeah, that's the way it was on this property as well. That's why we're providing a right-of-way dedication to move the right-of-way, widen the right-of-way there, and widen the roadway.
Okay, that's it for me for right now.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, there's one more, Natalia.
Okay. Come forward, Mr. Italia.
Natalia's
Natalia, okay.
Yes.
Hello?
Hi. Can you hear me?
Oh, there you are, Natalia.
Yes.
Denisova?
Yeah, it is Denisova.
Okay.
Okay. If you could state your name, spell your last name, and provide us your address, and then Ms. Saunders will swear you in.
Okay, it's Dr. Natalia G. Denisova. Last name is spelled D as in David E, N as in Nancy I, S as in Sam, O V as in Victor A.
Okay.
My address is 64 Riverview Avenue in Piscataway, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Can you please raise your right hand? Do you swear that,
Yes,
do you swear that the testimony about to give you the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
So I have two concerns. And one concern is when I came, that lot had a huge basin in it. And basically it wasn't buildable from my point of view. But over the years, the neighbors were like adding soil and some other debris to that basin. And now it's significantly smaller. Now, as previous speaker said, once it's filled, where would water go? To the neighboring buildings, neighboring houses? Would it be like
We're
that?
not we're not proposing any changes to the general grading of the property. There's no basin, so to speak. There's no stormwater management feature. It's just it is a swale that the general kind of the back lot line slightly towards golf links is where the natural depression is, and it drops considerably over that 200 feet. It drops about 6 feet from north to south across those backyards. So there's nothing that's holding water, retaining water. It's just and it has sufficient slope. That's about 3.5% slope across those backyards. So that's a considerable slope, and there should not be any water holding there. And if I understand, are you on the other side of, is it Penrose? You're at the corner there. So you're even further uphill as well from this property. So this property is downhill and will cause no problem to your property or to other properties in the area.
You're cutting out, Ms. Desanova. Stop
Yeah.
it.
Denisova. Miss Denisova, can you hear us? Could you repeat that? We couldn't hear you very clearly.
Saying that since we got a new road, my basement got wetter than it used to be, even though technically I'm on the other side of the road. I'm not a engineer or geologist. I cannot explain it. I just can testify that my basement is better than it used to be. And another thing is, I noticed that there are new cracks that appeared in the foundation of my house. And I only can explain it by the fact that when new road was built, there was some material, some soil was removed. So now ground is settling a new way, and that affects my foundation. When foundations for those 3 new buildings will be dug, that will affect many houses around. And you probably know that cracks in the foundation is not covered by any personal property insurance. So basically that would be up to those residents to manage those cracks, and those will be, they will come because, those basements will be humongous. How are you gonna address this issue?
Ms. Desanova, this is an application for a 4-lot subdivision, and if the cracks are already existing at your house, this wouldn't have any impact since they're already existing. So do you have any issues or questions related to the application or the testimony that Mr. Morse
What
has
I'm
pulled?
saying, those cracks were not here before new road conditions were created. You know, we just got maybe 2 years ago, our street was, how to say, re-engineered. And significant amount of soil was removed. I would say at my house, probably 3 feet of soil was scrubbed away. And I think soil is like earth is resettling around my house. And now I have new cracks in the foundation. When these new houses will be built, I pray that it does not affect my house and foundation of my house because I'm further down. But houses which are around this future construction site, they will be affected. Are you going to address this issue? Thank you.
Kevin, do you want to address that? I
Well,
don't think
look,
it's an issue.
Yeah, it's, the comments really have nothing to do. I appreciate the comments, and I'm sorry if someone's having an issue, but it's not an issue created, it's something going on before this application, and you've heard from our engineer, nothing proposed here, according to our expert, is going to have any negative impact on adjacent or neighboring properties, and I think he's fielded all the questions in that regard. It sounds like this particular property owner has a problem created by some other circumstance.
Madam Chair, we have one more, Louis
Okay.
Rivera.
Could you come forth if you have a question?
Dr. Rivera? Dr. Rivera? The hand went away, so I don't know.
Yeah, they muted themselves again. I don't know what he's doing.
Hear me now?
Barely.
Dr. Rivera?
I see.
Yes.
Okay.
Can you speak up?
Just right now, my computer just switched headsets to the actual microphone.
Okay.
All right, should we go through your procedural things?
Sounds
So my name is Luis Rivera. I'm on 61 Riverview Avenue in Piscataway, of course. And what else do you need?
No, you need to be sworn in by Ms. Saunders.
All right,
Can
go
you,
ahead.
can you please raise your right hand?
Got it.
Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
So I think just a few points that I wanted to make, and so one is I think we have to get clear what surface water runoff is, with what the impacts on the water table may be in the area. Really, I've also experienced a lot of the flooding issues as well. This property, or the whole lot, this single lot, it was really beautiful. It had heavily forested areas. I received a little slip from the township, sort of, I guess, giving permit for that area or lot to remove weeds, grasses, and shrubs. There's only 2 trees left in that whole lot. Pretty much everything was taken out. Also, as others have mentioned, that sort of catchment of all the water that happens on the golf course is really impacting all the properties here. It puts a lot of pressure on the water table, not so much on the surface water runoff, which is really not the big issue here. It does slope. I would be considering more of an issue for those that are at Stafford. And I don't know if there's any residents that are at Stafford here that can, express their concerns. I'm a little bit uphill, but of course the issues with the water table and potentially this area that was heavily forested, almost being used as a little flood mitigation area, is gone. There's no more trees that are able to sort of take up all that water that was coming in. So that's a bummer. And from the understanding of the permit, from clearing weeds, grasses, and shrubs to taking close to more than an acre of trees, they're gone. So that's one thing I wanted to mention. The other thing I wanted to mention is one concern that I have is with the subdivision of these lots. I'm a new resident here. I've only been, recently acquired my property about 3 years ago. I see the sentiment in the community with the issues that are happening in the street with traffic control related to the home games that we have to deal with. The church has expanded their parking. They've also taken, I think, about close to another extra acre of their property to just expand more parking space. They also, I believe, own a few more lots in Riverview Ave, which are also used for parking. So my concern is that there are no foreseeable plans in the future for these subdivisions or extra lots that are happening. And my concern is that in the future, when there are plans that come up, that basically, again, we'll see a small little house that tenants will be, people that rent houses, mostly students or who knows, and that basically the area around the whole lot will be used for additional parking. That's 4 additional lots that potentially, and who knows if they're acquired by the church or by somebody who is sort of related to the church, they end up getting more extra parking spaces. So that's one of the big issues I've sort of seen in terms of the quality of life. Also in terms of real estate value, a lot of these properties, not only the churches, but other people that are just basically own and rent, they don't really take care of their houses. They don't take care of the curb appeal. All they really care is renting the house and parking as many cars as they can. I've seen close to 150 cars parked. Last game, it was $30 a pop. That's close to $5,000 per game that some of these people are making. So it also poses an issue with traffic concerns, as the township does not provide any traffic control. So I've seen traffic jams in Riverview for close to an hour for an Ohio State game. I'm an emergency responder. If there's any, if I need to evacuate or go out to work, I would have to cross through the golf course, basically. Also poses another issue with the amounts of elderly population that we have in this street. That again would, be bestowed by all the issues with parking and the games that happen here. Again, and I don't really understand why so much for parking when we only have about 4 or 5 home games. It's not that much of a revenue in terms of how it affects the community, curb appeal, property, state, real estate value and so forth. So that's one of my concerns in terms of, we want to subdivide. There are no foreseeable futures for planning for construction or anything. We don't know what we're going to do. We're going to, what's going to happen in the future. That's my big concern. When this was a very pretty, huge lot that should have been kept heavily forested in the back, and potentially the house that's there reconstructed and redone for having a beautiful, single home family with amazing property value that would also impact all of our neighbors. And again, the quality of life. Think about when everybody in your street rents and every so often they come and go. What kind of community are you, going to raise your kids? So just wanted to bring that in terms that there are no foreseeable plans in the future, and yet there's a need for subdividing. And so when I see that need is
Mr. Rivera, we really have to limit the comments. We have another application.
Okay.
So if there's anything pertinent to this
That would be my
application.
only concerns. If you want to hear more,
Thank you.
feel free to contact me.
Thank you, sir.
Sure.
That is all, Madam Chair.
Okay, there's no more questions from the public. Close to the public.
Madam Chair, if I can make a comment, I just want to get some reassurances and on the record that the church will not be using any of that approved subdivision for football parking or any university events.
All right, let me,
And Counselor, I want a deed restriction on those properties, so whoever buys it, they're going to have to abide by it.
if we could, I have Mr. Waba present, and he should be sworn in. So
No, that's fine in church, but I'm talking about, I want to, Mr. Barlow, I want deed restrictions on the properties when they're transferred for this lot division, that there could be no university activity related parking on the properties.
Okay. The applicant agree to that, Mr. Morse?
that becomes a thorny issue because, a future.
How does it become a thorny issue, Counselor?
Well, look, I know what you're driving at. You don't want someone to create a rental parking situation. That's clear.
Yeah.
But I could envision a situation with me if I had a house there and having a bunch of friends over to go to the game and all of a sudden they're parking, not charging them, but.
I'm talking for sale,
Okay,
charging
okay. That
a
just,
business.
okay. So because this was not something that we anticipated, I just want to confirm, Mr. Waba is here on behalf of the applicant. I'd like him to be sworn in.
And that includes, hold on, Counselor, that includes donations to the church too.
I understand what
You
you're
follow what I'm
doing.
saying?
I follow what you're saying. So why don't we have Mr. Waba sworn in? He's here on behalf of the church.
Sir, if you could state your name, spell your last name, give us your address, and Ms. Saunders can swear you in.
He has to unmute himself.
He's trying. There he goes.
Okay.
Stay right there. Hey, don't.
All right.
Last name Waba, W-A-H-B-A.
Your
Okay.
address?
Can you please
That's
leave your rate? Go ahead.
right answer.
Okay.
Northwood Parkway, North Brunswick, New Jersey.
All right, now, Mr. Waba, you are here and you've.
Has he been sworn?
I
Kevin?
didn't get to
still don't
swear him
even
up.
have
He
the
was
address.
breaking up. I couldn't hear him.
I'm
Okay.
sorry,
let's
this is the court
just stop.
reporter.
Everyone
Wait a minute,
stop.
wait a minute. One person at a time, please.
Can I still
I
have
don't
Mr.
believe
Waba's address?
we don't have his address, please. Let's go by the regular process we've established. We need his name and address.
First name's Haney, last name Waba, W-A-H-B-A.
Now can we have him sworn in, please?
Yes. Can you please just swear that the testimony about to give will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
All right, so Haney, first state your address because we glossed over that so that Mr. Barlow can take that down.
1077 North Floyd Parkway, North Brunswick, New Jersey.
Thank you.
All right, now you have been logged in since the beginning of this hearing and you've watched all the testimony and you are here on behalf of the applicant, correct? Is that correct?
Can you hear me?
No.
No.
Yes.
No, he needs to get closer to the computer because we can't pick it up.
Yes.
Okay. And you've heard all the representation so far by your engineer and the comments that I've made, correct?
Yes.
And the applicant has agreed to some of the conditions we talked about regarding the garage and the mirror image houses, all that. I just want to get on the record. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, the mayor has brought up a situation based upon some of the comments. There's a concern in the neighborhood that your organization might in the future seek to use these lots as paid parking lots, like some of the other related properties for football games. You've heard that, correct?
Yes, I have.
And I understand it is not the applicant's intention to do that, to have paid parking on this property. Is that correct?
That is correct. We have not used those lots for any paid parking. As demonstrated the years that we've had it, we've had no parking done at that location.
Okay, and you're prepared if the board would look favorably in this application to a restriction that the lots couldn't be used for paid parking or donation to the church parking. You're aware of that request?
Yes.
Okay, and to otherwise solidify that, the mayor is suggesting that there be some type of deed restriction so that future owners would also be bound by that. Should you sell the properties in the future, that it couldn't be used for paid parking, a paid parking lot. And I just want to confirm that the church has no objection to that to that request and that type of restriction.
We don't have an objection.
Okay, I think we've covered that. I just want to get that on the record.
Thank you, Mr. Waba.
Okay, now, where do we stand? We ready for a vote on this application?
I'm ready if you are.
Do we have any uncovered? Does anyone have any questions of the witnesses? Are we ready to proceed with a motion to accept or reject this application? Board, what do you wish?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the application, subject to the conditions discussed, specifically that in the event the garage was substantially damaged, need to be replaced, would have to be in a conforming location. The garage is never to be used for living space. Each of the houses have their own character. The applicants agreed to provide an additional 5-foot right-of-way. And finally, that the church will not use this property for any type of paid parking or donation parking. And further, that there be a deed restriction in place that the future property owners could also not use these properties for paid parking.
Do I
Carol
have a,
Saunders, second.
thank you. Roll call.
Mayor Waller,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cahill,
Yes.
Ms. Corcoran,
Yes.
Ms. Saunders,
Yes.
Reverend Kenny,
Yes.
Mr. Atkins,
Yes.
Mr. Foster,
Yes.
and Madam Chair.
Yes.
Can I just ask, who was the second, Laura?
Carol
It's
Saunders.
Carol Saunders.
Thank you.
I got you, Carol.
All right, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Have a pleasant evening.
Have a
Thank
good
you,
night.
Kevin. Okay, item number 12. 24 PB 13, Clausen RP owner, Urban Renewal LLC, preliminary and final plan, final site plan.
Congratulations, Mr. Barber. Well done, congratulations. The only question I have is, we're gonna give them the additional half of right away, but if we have to increase the roadway. Well, that is part of it.
Laura, oh, there.
Mr. Waba, if you could turn
Oh,
off.
I got him.
Thank you.
Thank you. I can see who it was for a moment. My apologies.
Mr. Tripp, are you here?
Yes,
There
I
you-
am.
There you are, Mr. Tripp. Okay, you
am
may
here.
proceed. Okay.
Thank you. Good evening, Stephen Tripp from the firm of Wilentz, Goldman and Spitzer on behalf of the applicant, Clausen RP owner, Urban Renewal LLC. The applicant is the designated redeveloper of property that's within the Clausen Street and Bakeland Avenue redevelopment plan. It's a 13.67 acre lot. It includes various tax lots and vacated portions of Clausen Street, Brook Avenue, and Field Avenue. It's got Bakeland on one side, Clausen on another side, and then Conrail right of way. The property right now is vacant. It was used by the applicant for temporary trailer storage pursuant to a temporary use permit this board granted earlier this year. That use has not been continued. There's also vacant structures on site that will be, many of which will be demolished as part of this plan. The only building that's going to remain is there's one building. It's 3,869 square foot footprint with an additional mezzanine. That's going to remain, and one additional building, 9,450 square foot building, is going to be proposed as well. And the remainder of the site will be trailer and vehicle parking area. And the proposed uses will be any of the uses permitted by the redevelopment plan, which include vehicle storage, truck terminal, equipment storage, sales, and rentals. Those are primarily the uses that we're focusing on that are among the uses permitted in the zone per the redevelopment plan. Also part of this plan, which is required by the redevelopment plan and is indicated on the site plan as off-site, are improvements on the adjacent township fire training facility. There's a requirement in the redevelopment plan regarding some improvements we're adding, and the engineer will explain this, fencing and gates and improving driveways. And the engineer will explain there's currently 2 driveways to the fire facility. One is on the portion of Clausen that remains in a public right-of-way that was not vacated. And the other driveway is on a portion of Clausen that was vacated. And what we're proposing, as shown on the plans, is a right-of-way easement to the Clausen right-of-way, and that will provide access to the second driveway. And the engineer can show that once he testifies. This plan is compliant with the redevelopment plan. We're not seeking any variances. I think there's a couple of questions in the reports that will clarify that we're not seeking any type of relief, and we believe it's a fully conforming site plan. What I'd like to do is have our engineer sworn in. Bill Lane, I see Bill is right there.
Mm-hmm. You're going to start with him? You're going to start with Mr. Lane?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
Hey, Mr. Lane, can you please raise your right hand? I can't see. I'm not sure if he's on video or not.
Yeah, he is.
I don't know.
Oh,
His
okay.
hand, his hand
Right,
is raised nice and high.
Okay. Do you swear that testimony about to give you the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Lane, can you just briefly review your professional background, your qualifications, and what your role was in this project?
Yes, I've been with Menlo Engineering for a little over 39 years. I've been a licensed PE in the state of New Jersey for 27 years with my license currently in good standing. I've testified in front of probably over 100 boards throughout the state of New Jersey and including Piscataway many times. My role in this was overseeing the design and layout of the facility. I've done several projects with Catalyst over the last couple of years.
And your task was to develop a plan that conformed to the requirements of the redevelopment plan, correct?
Correct.
Okay, now do you, I understand you have some exhibits.
Yes.
Starting with the existing conditions exhibit?
Yes. I'll share my screen.
He is acceptable to the committee as an expert in this witness testimony. Go ahead, proceed. Just wanted the record to reflect that.
Thank you. Can Bill get a screen share? There we go.
It up. Everybody can see. All right, this is entitled Existing Conditions Exhibit, October 9th, 2024.
We'll mark that as A1.
And Bill, using this exhibit, could you, review the current site conditions, the property location, and just kind of orient everybody to where the property is and what's surrounding it?
Yeah, the property's been consolidated into one lot, block 3405, lot 101, and it contains 13.67 acres. It was comprised of 16 different lots that were in blocks 3401 through 3404, as well as there was an acre of Clausen Street that was vacated, and then there was an additional acre of a portion of Field Avenue and Brook Avenue that were vacated, so an additional 2 acres became available to property, which totaled up to 13.67 acres. The property is bounded by a warehouse to the northeast. We got the Conrail right-of-way to the south. Off to the west, we have the fire training facility, the end of Clausen Street, and then even further over is Bakeland Avenue. The site's governed by, as we mentioned, the Clausen Street Bakeland Avenue redevelopment plan. The property right now is currently has been used as a temporary trailer storage. It contains 4 buildings. The one existing building to remain is the 4,500 square foot building here. And additionally, there's a single family home and a couple of garages off in the back portion of the corner of the property down along the railroad. Current access to the property is off at the end of the Clausen Street right-of-way. And a large portion of the site is constrained by wetlands over in the western portion, and majority of the wetlands and the wooded area over there will remain even after construction.
Mr. Lane, can I just interject with a quick question, or maybe Mr. Tripp? You indicated that the lots had been consolidated to block 3405, lot 1.01. When was that done? Was a lot consolidation deed filed?
Well, we're going to consolidate as a condition of the approval. They will be consolidated into a single lot.
Okay, so your
haven't done
intention
that
is
yet.
if this is acted on favorably, that one of the things you'd be doing is doing a lot consolidation deed.
Correct,
Okay, thank you for
correct.
clarifying that.
That's the intent.
Okay. Sorry, you're witness.
Yes, Mr. Lane, I believe you have another exhibit now, the overall plan exhibit
Yes.
to show what we're proposing.
All right, this is entitled Overall Plan Exhibit. It's also dated October 9th, 2024.
Bill, yeah, okay, there we go. Okay,
A2. Okay.
okay. Why don't you explain what the applicant is proposing, Mr. Lane?
Okay, applicant's actually proposing 2 phases, this site. Phase 1 will be in the northeast section of the property. That is the portion that will keep the existing 4,500 square foot building. Phase 2 is where we're constructing the new 9,450 square foot building. There will be fencing down sort of the middle of where we're considering the phasing line in between the properties with fencing. The other structures that were down in the corner here are being removed. Also, just to let you know, as far as the phases, as part of phase 2, we're looking to get wetlands permit plans, wetlands permits for that portion of the site. So if those are in the works or being held up because the DEP, sometimes takes a little bit of time, the applicant's looking to get going to construct phase 1 portion of the site. The
And
existing,
as to the DEP permits, you have a letter, an LOI, correct?
correct.
And
Yeah.
you have your permit applications in and they're pending, correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
As far as phase 1 with the existing building, 1,976 square feet will be part of maintenance, service, and storage space. The other 2,570 square feet will be for office. For the proposed building in phase 2, 8,485 square feet will be maintenance, service, and storage space, and approximately 965 square feet will be office. In the proposed building, will be 4 overhead doors on each side of the building where trucks will come in for a service and they can pull in from the east side and pull out through the west side. Additionally, there's a 5th door on the western side in the rear of the building that will be for a wash bay, and they'll access from the rear of the building and just pull in and then get their car, whatever needs to be done is washed. The building, we're looking at having a neutral color, either gray or beige. As far as the proposed development, we're going to comply with all the redevelopment plan. As mentioned, the site will be used for industrial and related uses permitted to the redevelopment plan, including vehicle, trailer, equipment storage, sales, and rentals. The existing building will be 23 feet in height. The proposed building will be 26 feet in height, where the redevelopment allows for 55. The buildings comply with the front, rear, and side yard setbacks. As far as building coverage, we're at 2.2%, where 40 is permitted. For our overall impervious coverage, 26% is proposed, where 70 is permitted. We also have additional gravel areas, which we weren't considered because the ordinance doesn't require gravel to be considered as impervious. But if we did, we're still at only 43%, well under the 70. The site access is still going to remain off the end of Clausen Street where the right-of-way ends. That portion of the street will be paved with new curbing and sidewalk down the street. After you come into the property, we're looking to propose a 45-foot wide access easement down about 142 feet into the property. This will allow the second driveway access into the fire facility, as well as our access into both phases of the project.
And that's 45 feet in width?
Yes, and about 142 feet long into the property.
Okay.
The phase 1 access will have a gate on the eastern end of the easement. And phase 2 will have access gate at the very end of that easement. The main drive aisles, they all comply with the redevelopment plan where we have a 20-foot wide minimum and 65-foot wide maximum. For car parking under phase 1, we're proposing 9 new spaces just to the east of the existing building. There'll be 1 handicap space and 1 EV space there. And under phase 2, north of the new building, we'll have 12 new spaces. Also, there'll be an EV space and an ADA space there as well. EV stations will be constructed and operational prior to the CO. For the trailer storage areas, under phase 1, we have 3 trailer storage areas, and that totals approximately 78 spaces. For phase 2, we have 4 trailer storage areas, and that totals about approximately 88 spaces. For fencing around the property, we're proposing an 8-foot high fence with chain link fence with green fabric screen on the exterior of the side of the fence, which is in compliance with the redevelopment plan. For off-site improvements on the fire training facility, we're looking to replace the existing fence along the Clausen Street right-of-way and the Bakeland Avenue Street right-of-way. We're looking to replace the existing gates on the main access driveway for Clausen Street, and then the secondary access, as we mentioned, that comes off of through our easement. Also, in Clausen Street, we're installing a new sanitary sewer main down the road and into the existing pump station that sits at the corner of Clausen and Bakeland, and we're tying into that as well and upgrading the pumps there. The applicant is also conveying 2 lots from the property and giving them to the fire facility. They're lots 5.01 and 12.01 in block 3402. And that's approximately 4,000 additional square feet to the fire facility.
That property's been conveyed, so the fire station lot has been increased as a result.
Okay. On to stormwater, we're proposing 3 new bioretention basins. For basin 1, we have the largest one, which is in the southern section of the property along the Conrail right-of-way. Basin 2 is up in the northern corner of the property, right up by Clausen Street, and Basin 3 is down in the corner, all the way to the east, right again also along the Conrail right-of-way. Post and rail fencing we propose around all 3 basins. The basin design, stormwater design, addresses township and NGDP requirements for water quality, the quantity, and recharge. And additionally, we've gotten comments in from DNR engineering, and the applicant's going to agree to all of those comments in there. There's nothing we can't satisfy. For landscaping, we're proposing to install 22 new trees, 12 shade and 10 evergreen, and 34 new shrubs. Additionally, the 3 basins, because they're bioretention basins, will have anywhere from 100 to 300 shrubs in the basin bottom, as well as 250 to 500 grasses installed in them. There's no berms or buffers required or proposed, with the parking being 5 and 8 feet off the property lines.
And that's for the redevelopment plan specifically permits a 2-foot setback for parking and loading on the side and a 5-foot from the rear, correct?
Correct. Yeah, and those are long.
Question in one of the reports, I believe the staff report, about providing a buffer. Is there anything you could do in that area between the fence and the end of the parking?
I mean, we could look to install stuff, but being it's limited from 5 to 8 feet, and you're going to have, cars or trailers backing up in there. It wouldn't be ideal, but it can be done if really they're looking to, the board of the town is looking to have that done.
But the conditions we're talking about in terms of the setback is in full compliance with the redevelopment plan, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and those parking spaces along the northern property line, along the warehouse, along the south, along the Conrail Railroad, and then also along the wooded area next to the fire training facility where the parking spaces are.
You say along the warehouse, that's the warehouse on the adjacent property?
Correct.
Okay. So those are the areas where we have the trailer parking, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Additionally, because this site was existing wooded down here along the southern portion, and we're removing trees, the applicant is going to have to make a contribution to the tree fund. There's limited stuff that we could do on site. As I'll mention once we get to the utilities, there's easements on site that prohibits us from adding much more trees on here. But what they're looking to do right now is we're doing a tree survey and with an arborist to try to hopefully bring the number down to a more accurate number. But we will be making a contribution to the tree fund in some fashion because there was a decent amount of trees out here that need to be removed.
But now you're looking to identify, you're doing a specific analysis to identify trees that are required to be replaced versus trees that aren't. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
And lighting, we're proposing 28 new light poles and 4 new lights along the proposed building. The poles will be 30 feet high with LED lights. With a 0.5 minimal foot candle and an average foot candle of 1.69 foot candles across the property. We're also proposing a new 96 square foot sign out by the Clawson Street entrance. And that's also in compliance with the redevelopment plan. For utilities, water is being taken from, there's a 12-inch main that comes down Clawson Street and ties to a 48-inch main that cuts from Brook Avenue across the property. So we'll be tying into that 12-inch line for both buildings. For sewer, as previously mentioned, we're going to run a new line down Clawson Street and tie into the existing pump station. With those water lines, because we're vacating the streets, we're going to propose a new easement over them. Additionally, there's a township utility easement back in the corner here, which that will get vacated. There's no other utilities back there. So what we're going to do when working with New Jersey American Water is we're going to have a easement across their 48-inch water main that comes down Brook Avenue and across this portion of the property. Then there's a 12-inch line that will have a 20-foot easement also out to Clawson Street across this section of the property. Site's not expected to have any issues with noise from prospective tenants. If anything arises, the applicant will have to look at providing some kind of noise attenuating fence, but like I said, with the operations here, it should be minimal.
And the residential uses are on the other side of the railroad tracks, correct?
Correct. And the nearest home, I think, from where any of our new storage trailers will be approximately about 150 feet with that 100-foot right away there. As far as outside agency approvals, we have our Middlesex County approval from June of 2024. As earlier mentioned, we got a letter of interpretation from the DEP back in January of 2024. And additionally, we're under review with the NJDP for wetlands permitting. We've reviewed professional letters that have come in, and majority of it, all that I think we can comply. There was one issue that came up with the
I think there's a couple of things because some of the items require clarification.
Okay.
So I just wanted to start with the staff memorandum, Bill.
Okay.
The first couple of comments are just statements 1, 2, 3 are just statements. Number 4 asks for the hours of operation, anticipated number of employees, and anticipated number of trips. We don't at this point there's no tenants, correct? I mean, we don't have a specific tenant.
Yeah, correct. There's no tenants known at this time.
At this time, and in terms of trips, we did submit a traffic report, which the traffic consultant for the board reviewed and didn't have any real questions regarding that. So I think we addressed that. In terms of the noise, I think you just testified that if we don't expect an issue, but if there is, we can always add an attenuating. There's a comment there that we might have to install an 8-foot high noise reducing fence. And that's just going to be a matter of if there's an issue, we would comply with that, correct?
Correct.
The next was a contribution to the tree fund, and I know you indicated that pending a final count, there'll be a tree contribution requirement.
Correct.
Number 7 talks about a buffer, and the redevelopment plan talks about what would be in a landscape buffer. But is there any actual requirement for buffers in those particular areas that you identified?
No.
And that's where you have the 2 foot and the 5 foot setbacks, correct? That are
Correct. Yeah,
permitted.
they're approximately 5 feet and 8 feet.
But if the board wants as a condition of approval that you do add some plantings there, you would be able to do that, correct?
Correct.
Okay. The next comment just talks about additional trees and you're going to add trees and make a contribution to comply with the requirements, correct?
Correct.
Okay. The next comment deals with the color of the building, and I think you provided testimony. Comment 10 requires electric vehicle charging stations operational prior to an issuance of a CO. We agree to that. The next comment has to do with heavy-duty pavement detail, Bill. Can you address that briefly?
Yeah, in talking with the applicant, I guess he's already in discussions with contractors and stuff on how to, construct the site. One of the thoughts was that during construction, they'd like to have a bigger stone base out there. So what they did was they had the soils engineer, geotech engineer design a pavement section to thicken up the stone base. So really what we're looking to do and propose is a 2-inch surface pavement section with a 3-inch binder course with 6 inches of stone. So like I said, during construction, it could be a little bit heavier. And that works out usually, but your rule of thumb is every 2 inches of stone is like 1 inch of pavement. So if you do the numbers, that provides an 8-inch section. I know the town section is 1.5 inches of surface with a 5-inch binder course of pavement and then 3 inches of stone. So if you take that 3 inches of stone with 1.5 inches, that's also an approximately an 8-inch section. So we're matching the sections. We're just looking to do a little bit more stone on the bottom and take a little bit out of the binder course. If the town
And you're going to work with the town engineer on that. You need his approval on that, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Number 12 is to keep parking areas clear of debris and vegetative growth. No chemical herbicides. That's obviously, we agree to that. Number 13 is replacing certain details with the township standard details, Bill. There's no issue with that on the plans?
No issue.
Curbs and sidewalks along Clausen. Item 14, you've already testified to that, correct?
Yes.
And then the Middlesex County approval letter has been submitted. So that's that report. I believe the Charlie Carley report, the DNR report, you indicated we could comply with fully.
Yes.
And the DPW, the Department of Public Works report, item 1 talks about extending the Clausen Street right-of-way to allow proper vehicular entrance. We're not sure what that comment means. We have the right-of-way and we're giving a 45-foot right-of-way. We'll talk to Mr. Gaspari to see what else he's looking for, but we believe we're providing a right-of-way. The one driveway is on the Clausen Street public right-of-way, and the other driveway is on the vacated portion, but there's a 45-foot wide right-of-way access. So if something else is required, we'll certainly work with your Department of Public Works and your municipal engineer to do whatever else is required to make sure.
Mr. Tripp, if I may jump in, this is Mayor Waller. We'll just work that out with the township attorney. And the other issue I know that Public Works had is about the force main issue, sewer force main issue that needs to be resolved.
Well, the comments on the report, I think we can agree to the comments on the report.
Okay.
The comments 2 through 6 deal with the pump station. Bill, we can comply with all the remainder of those reports, those comments.
Yeah. Just to run through. Yeah, I mean, just to run through a few. The number 2, we will definitely upgrade the line. Number 3, the 1.25 inch PVC pipe. We did the calculations, sent them over to the engineering department. Joe Herrera actually said we were good with the design on that, so we're going to leave the existing 1.25 inch line. Number 4 is just a comment. And then number 5 and number 6, we were doing some stuff with the plan where we thought we might have to alter the line, but the existing line is going to stay. So the plans and profiles will get corrected to leave the existing line in place.
I just
And
want,
that's on subject. Yes.
Mr. Bartley, I just want to make subject approval that the Public Works Department is comfortable and that the applicant can work it out with Public Works.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think, Mr. Tripp, it would probably make sense to there be a developer's agreement, and we can subsume all those items into that so it can be worked out at an appropriate time.
Yeah, we have we currently have there is a redevelopment agreement, but we have no problem with a supplemental development agreement to incorporate these terms and conditions.
Thank you.
Not a problem. The other reports, the traffic report basically didn't have any real comments other than at the end, this is the Betsy Dolan and Dean, August 8th, 2024. They just wanted to correct the labels on the plan when revised plans are submitted. And I think there also is a question, Bill, about access to the proposed wash.
Yeah, just to go over those two things, we originally everybody was going to pull straight in and straight out, so this was going to be a one-way driveway. You could see here, even on this overall plan, we had a stop bar here, so that's been removed, and it's no longer one way. We have a two-way access in here, so that portion of their letter has been addressed. The next thing is there's a wash bay in the back corner here. So now that it's a two-way driveway, they could pull into the car wash, back out, and come through this two-way driveway.
And the last report is the CME report, and I subject to the planner, who I know is here, can we start with the comments and recommendations, or is there anything before that you'd like us to address?
I'm here, but
Yeah.
if they have no objections, we can move forward. Basically, one of the things I just looked at, I had technical comments about EVSC, but nothing major.
Yeah, the EV comments is just we subtracted, and you say it's a credit. It's just the math is different, and we have no problem.
That's
with
it. That's it. If they have no objection, we're good.
Okay, yeah, I don't. There's nothing. I don't see anything in your report that's an issue.
Yeah.
You basically asked for qualifications. You found a misspelling, which we will certainly correct. A couple, just some technical things. But Bill, do you see any issue with addressing their report? Their report?
No, we'll get everything in there.
Okay.
Good. Thank you.
So that, I think we've hit every report now. And at this point, I don't have anything further from Mr. Lane, unless, of course, there are questions.
Mr. Lane, if you could unshare your screen. Thank you.
Okay. Do you have any other witnesses?
Are there any questions?
I do not.
Mr. Lane?
I do have a representative of the developer if there are any questions, but at this point, I think Mr. Lane has covered everything that we needed to cover.
Madam
Okay.
Chair, we need to open it to the public.
Well, does the board have any questions? Does the board have any questions of this witness? If they don't,
Madam Chair, it's Dawn Corcoran. It's not necessarily for Mr. Lane. I do know there's a representative here from the company, but I do realize this was recently brought to your attention, Mr. Tripp, that there's debris out at the site from the prior tenant. We do realize that you've been working on cleaning it up. One of our inspectors was out there today, so thank you for that. When do you anticipate the complete removal of that debris being done? Do you need another week, another 2 weeks?
Let me have Mr. William Slater, who's
Yep. Hi, everyone.
present.
They should be
Let's
they should be
just
wrapped up.
swear 'em in, Mr.
Hold
Chair.
on, hold on, Mr. Slater, before you say anything, you have to get sworn in and you have to identify who you are and what you're doing with the company.
Can you please raise your right hand? Do you swear that the testimony about to give you the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Please state and spell your name for the record.
My name is William Slater, William. Slater, Slater.
Thank you.
And Mr. Slater, what is your position with the applicant?
I'm the project manager for Catalyst Investment Partners, who's the controlling part of Clausen Urban Renewal LLC.
And you're familiar with the site?
Yes.
And you're familiar with the issue of the debris?
Yes.
And that debris was there from your predecessor in title, correct?
Yes.
So Ms. Corcoran had asked a question about what your timing is, that she's aware that you do have people out there doing the cleanup, correct?
Yes, they started today and they've told me they'll be wrapped up by Friday.
Thank
you.
Mr. Counselor, Mr. Tripp, I just have a question for
Yes.
Mr. Slater. How did you folks close on a property knowing full well that the prior owner left all that debris there? To me, it was legal malpractice or something to allow something like that to happen. And I'm not trying to throw anybody literally on the bus because it was from Layla Bus Company, but that's a whole nother issue.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as long as you're getting it cleaned up, that's fine. But I'm just kind of shocked that somebody would close on a property with the condition of that way.
Yeah, we were hoping to clean it. We were hoping to clean it up a little earlier, and then it was eventually going to be cleaned up with the development of the property. But we're happy to clean it up now.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Let's open it up to the public. Anyone in the public wishing to ask a question of Mr. Lane, would you show your hand so that you can let us know that you have a question?
Yeah, Vivian.
Hi. Okay. Ma'am, if you could state your name, spell your last name for the record, and give us your address.
Sure. It's Vivian Harris, and the last name is Harris, and I'm at 59 Normandy Drive in Piscataway, of course.
Can you please raise your right hand?
It is.
Do you swear that the testimony about to give you the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, as a resident of Piscataway for over 20 years, and actually directly across from where this proposed site is going to be built, I really felt that it was important to voice my opposition to the destruction of this pristine forest and wetlands, which is actually a sanctuary and home to a variety of diverse and protected wildlife. It's been untouched basically for over 25 years. We really, I guess I really hate to see it paved over for industrial facilities. And so I have a few questions that I'd like to raise. My first has to do with the pollution and the impact on the residents. There sounds like there's going to be a lot of light pollution for the residents that are living within 500 feet or less of this facility. And we really don't look forward to having all that light shining right in our residential windows, and the additional noise and air pollution that may result from having, what did you say, 88 truck spaces filled, and also a wash basin, which this is the first I've heard about having a wash basin there. And what, I guess, what remediation is there going to be for both the noise and the light?
I
and
would
the air
direct
pollution.
the light, well, the light, Mr. Lane, can you address the lighting? Lighting has to comply with the redevelopment plan, which has some specific requirements that prevent any glare and any light from leaving the site. Is that correct, Bill?
Correct.
And can you explain that and answer the question?
We've designed these to pretty much just light up the pavement area. Again, the Conrail right of way is 100 feet away, so it's only the backside of those lights that are up along that property line, and they're going to shine forward. They come in with backside shields, so nothing pulls off to the backside. And the majority of the lights are further into the site, even much further away. They're probably another couple hundred feet into the site. And like Mr. Tripp has indicated, it's been designed in accordance with township standards and the redevelopment plan.
And when you say that the lights will be aimed mainly towards the front, I'm assuming that means towards Bakeland.
Yes, or into the property, yes.
Okay, I still would like to see some kind of fencing or shielding to be considered that would block that light from coming into our areas, our
Well,
backyards.
Mr. Lane, is there
basically.
any light at all that's going to be directed towards the homes on the other side of the railroad tracks?
Again, they're probably the ones that the heads face in towards the railroad. They're a couple hundred feet almost off the property line. So they're much further in. So as the cone of light goes downward, you're really not going to have that shining out across the railroad right away.
If we find as the construction goes forward that that's not the case, is there some means of coming back to the board to have something changed?
Well, I think that if the lights actually exceed the permitted foot candles and actually create light beyond the property line, it would not be in compliance with the redevelopment plan. Is that correct, Bill?
Correct.
And we would be required to remediate that as a matter of law, wouldn't we?
Yes.
The other question I have is in terms of the wetlands, we have a letter of interpretation, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, I was getting to the wetlands question.
And Bill, is it fair to say that the majority of the wetlands area is going to be preserved and that area is vegetated, is going to be left in its natural state?
Yeah, there's a big chunk, like it indicated, even with the gravel area, we're at like 43% of impervious coverage, where I believe we're allowed 70. So 57% of the site is grassed area or remaining woods area. And everything over from that proposed building to where we have a little bit of the driveway behind there, that's all existing wetlands and woods that won't be touched.
Okay. The wetlands actually are a kind of a double-edged concern. My first concern with the wetlands is has to do with flooding and flood control. The storm water drains around that area says do not dump drains to the waterways. This includes the Ambrose Brook, Raritan River. Yet consistently what we've seen with major storms like Ida and Irene in the past, Bakeland area floods at both ends, as does River and Possumtown roads. With the loss of some of these wetlands, it'll actually kind of increase the community flooding and potentially, and residents already have very limited egress to the area in case of flooding and actually have a pretty good challenge to get to medical facilities during storm flooding. The last time we had a major storm, there was only one exit out of the entire neighborhood. and kind of had to drive over some neighbors' properties to do that. Has the plan as you've outlined it taken those flooding concerns into consideration? And
Bill, can you address that? The property, Bill, first of all, the property's not in a flood zone, is it?
No.
And can you address the issue of the stormwater and the concerns about flooding?
Yeah, not only, do we have to go through a review with the township engineer, but because we have wetlands on site, we also have to go through a stringent review with the Department of Environmental Protection. And every so many years, they come out with a little more stricter rules. So as I mentioned earlier, we have 3 bioretention basins which collect, treat, hold back, infiltrate the water into the ground. These things are oversized. Any new development nowadays that has to go through this stormwater design, they're well designed to handle any increase and reduce the runoff from the property from the existing condition. Whereas the 2-year storm gets cut in half from the existing conditions up to the 100-year storm where it gets cut down to 20-25%. We can't change the drainage patterns. Basin 1 goes into the wetlands. Basin 2 shoots out towards Ambrose Brook. And the other basin up by Clausen Street goes out into the system. So this system is designed very, very well. And like I said, it goes through a stringent review with the DEP as well as the town. So this is designed pretty well to handle the stormwater runoff increase from the pavement areas.
And your obligation under the regs, just to be clear, is to reduce the rate of runoff, correct?
Correct.
And to address water quality issues as well.
Correct.
And your basins that you're proposing are compliant with the regulations and accomplish that.
Yes.
And additionally, the township engineer in their report had some additional comments regarding the drainage, which you're going to address as well.
Correct.
okay, and I realize this is an unrelated property, but down the road from this area, there's a huge warehouse property that will be built as
Miss
part
Harris, if
Yes.
we could stick to this application, because that doesn't really have any relevance to the application for site plan here. It is getting late, so if you have anything pertinent to this particular application, otherwise we'd like to move along.
Okay, I understand. It is kind of related because it's taking out additional areas for the many species of wildlife that have existed over there. There's tons of wildlife over there that are going to be displaced. Lots of wild turkeys, foxes, bats. There also was last year there were 2 bald eagles that I've photographed in that area. They've since they've since, I guess, relocated because of the cleanup of the debris that is happening, along with the wood chips that existed as part of, I guess, what I consider or what I've read to be an illegal tree chipping operation. But what measures are being taken to protect some of the wildlife that's over there?
Well, Bill, the wetlands areas, other than the area you're getting permits for, is going to be left in its natural state, correct?
Correct. And I believe we have to deed restrict it and can't be touched.
And when you got the letter of interpretation, DEP assesses the ecological value, and you also have to demonstrate that there's no habitat for threatened and endangered species. Isn't that correct?
Correct.
And DEP did that analysis before they issued the letter of interpretation, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Are there any other residents that would like to speak?
Oh, is this past witness finished? Is she finished?
Well, I think she's
Yes.
far exceeded her allotted time, so.
No one else, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Close to the public then. Are we ready for a motion?
Or Mr. Tripp, do you have any closing?
Yeah, just very briefly, given the late hour, I mean, we've come up with a plan that fully complies with the ordinance. We've addressed all the reports. We've agreed to incorporate all the various understandings into a further development agreement as the mayor has suggested. So I think we've demonstrated that we've, fully complied with the redevelopment plan, and we should, the application should be approved subject to the conditions that we've agreed to and the conditions in your professionals' reports.
Members of the board, what is your pleasure?
Madam Chair, Reverend Kenny, I make a motion that this application be granted and accepted with the applicant complying with the staff reports that were set forth.
Second it.
Roll call.
Mayor Waller,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cahill,
Yes.
Ms. Corcoran,
Yes.
Ms. Saunders,
Sorry, yes.
okay, Reverend Kenny,
Yes.
Mr. Atkins,
Yes.
Mr. Foster,
Yes.
and Madam Chair.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 13, discussion. To amend definitions to separate hotel and extended stay hotel under the zoning ordinance pursuant to NJS 40 is that 501?
Yeah.
26. There's glare under my lamp.
That's okay.
Mhm.
Dawn, you want me to just briefly explain to the board? Okay. Evidently, upon review of the township ordinances, it's become necessary that to lay out a more particular definition as to hotel and extended stay hotel, so that the zoning ordinances can more appropriately address those types of facilities. So I know Mr. Clarkin had prepared some definitions of the two that just lay out the particulars as to, there is a difference between a hotel or motel and an extended stay facility. And the council sent it over for our review as to whether or not, I guess, the planning board agrees that's a good idea, and the mayor may have some additional comments, or Dawn.
I think that, Mr. Barlow, I think there was just ambiguity in the two differences, and I think this is just clarifying the differences of the two between a hotel and extended hotel motel and an extended stay hotel. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Corcoran?
I just think it was all kind of lumped into one, and this will
Yes.
remove the ambiguity and allow the township to craft the appropriate ordinances for different types of facilities.
I think it's a really smart thing to do because we want to make sure that if an approval is given, that we know exactly what's going in there, what type
Yeah.
of,
Absolutely.
So the distinction will be made prospectively, not retrospectively, right?
There you go.
Or do we have to amend the current facilities that are motels and hotels?
I would
Well, I guess we don't-
envision, I would envision now that if the township council approves the two separate definitions, that the next step may be that the council will craft ordinances to relate to the two different types of facilities and how they operate going forward.
Okay. So then we would just distinguish in the future.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't be surprised if we get additional things to comment on relative to the ordinance as the council and the governing body fleshes that out.
But I do think it's a good idea, though. I think we should distinguish.
So Mr. Barlow, is there a revision advanced here, or is this just a concept that you're asking for opinion?
Well, it came over from the council who's adopted it on first reading. And as of
So-
right now, it sets forth two different definitions. It differentiates, and as the mayor said, removes the ambiguity between what we all think of as a hotel or motel. You stay there for 1 or 2 nights. I'm going to a football game, as opposed to an extended stay facility where people are there for weeks, if not months at a time. And once the definitions are in place, then I would envision a possibility where then ordinances can be crafted to govern and both types of facilities.
Okay, and again, it was a little unclear to me when I saw this. Generally, when an ordinance gets referred on first reading, isn't the planning board basically looking to see if it's consistent with the master plan?
Yes, and I think clearing up the ambiguity in the statutes is consistent with the master plan reexamination.
And I would totally concur with that, and just put it on the record. So if it gets referred back to council, I mean, as your board planner, I would say it's consistent with the master plan.
We have an extended stay facility in town now.
Yeah. And I don't think we have the appropriate definitions to address it. And I think that's what the council is trying to remedy.
So, again, I'm just advising the board as your planner, we're good.
So if the board is in favor of that, it would be appropriate for a motion in concurrence with the council's recommendation as to the two definitions. And then I did prepare a resolution if the board wishes to act favorably on it, so it can go back to the council.
Reverend Kenny, one question in regards to that. That can be an amendment to the master plan and put into the master plan. Is that correct, council?
Absolutely. I mean, when the master plan's re-examined, if there have been changes, they should be worked into the master plan at the appropriate time.
Thank you. That's what I thought. Thank you, sir.
So who would like to pose that motion?
Well, I'll make the motion that we make the recommended changes to the zoning ordinance to make the amendments.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Okie dokie.
Take your pick.
We got
It was
several
like
seconds, so
there.
it's well seconded. Can we have a roll call?
Mayor Waller,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cahill,
Yes.
Ms. Corcoran,
Yes.
Ms. Saunders,
Yes.
Reverend Kenny,
Yes.
Mr. Atkins,
Yes.
Mr. Foster,
Yes.
and Madam Chair.
Yes. You have a resolution, sir?
I do, Ms.
Yes.
Saunders?
I see it. Okay, Madam Chairman, I'd like to memorialize the resolution for the concurrence with ordinance and to supplement the revised current definition of hotel and the creation of a separate definition of extended stay hotel.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Oh, come on. I know we got some seconds out there.
Boy, oh boy, this is great seconds tonight.
Mayor Waller,
Roll call.
Yes.
Councilwoman Cahill,
Yes.
Ms. Corcoran,
Yes.
Ms. Saunders,
Yes.
Reverend Kenny,
Yes.
Mr. Atkins,
Yes.
Mr. Foster,
Absolutely yes.
and Madam Chair.
Yes. Okay, item number 14, discussion, adoption of the 2025 Planning Board calendar. Was there a proposed one?
Yeah, I sent it to you.
Oh, well, I guess I didn't get that deep. Oh, I see it. I see it. Here it is.
I have them all saved in my calendar already, Laura. And by the way, I
You
went to
did.
enter them
Good.
in again and I started making duplicate meetings. So
You didn't see
thank
any
you for
conflicts in
sending
there?
it that
Okay.
way. I appreciate it.
Like me, Councilwoman, I do everything ahead of time, which are people crazy. you know.
Okay, I assume we have no conflicts in here with Easter or anything. So,
No.
would someone like to propose a motion to accept the calendar?
This is Carol Saunders. I make a motion to accept the calendar.
Do we get a second?
Reverend
Second,
Kenny, I'll
Councilwoman
second it.
Kidd.
Okay. Roll call.
Mayor Waller,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cahill,
Yes.
Ms. Corcoran,
Yes.
Ms. Saunders,
Yes.
Reverend Kenny,
Yes.
Mr. Atkins,
Yes.
Mr. Foster,
Yes.
and Madam Chair.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. Everyone. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Everyone vote and we'll see you next month. No, we'll see you in 2 weeks for the site
The
plan.
workshop.
Yep.
Okay.
Mhm.
And let's go Mets. They won tonight.
They won.
Right.
Yay.
Yeah. On to the championship.
Phillies are done.
Yep,
I was
Phillies are
nearly
done.
Good night,
jumping out of my
everyone.